In Rome, there is a building that has been standing for 1900 years. No steel inside it, no rebar, no modern engineering, just concrete poured by hand before the fall of an empire holding up the largest unreinforced dome on Earth. It has survived earthquakes that flattened the buildings around it. It has survived floods, fires, looting, and 2,000 winters. It is called the Pantheon, and every single day, tourists walk under a concrete ceiling that has outlasted entire civilizations without a single major repair. Now think about the concrete in your own life. The driveway that cracked within 10 years. The steps crumbling at the corners. The patio that heaved and split after 3 hard winters. The foundation with the hairline fractures the inspector warned you about. Modern concrete, poured with all our technology, is rated to last 50 to 100 years, and most of it starts falling apart long before that. The Romans made concrete that lasts 2,000 years and heals its own cracks. We make concrete that needs replacing before the mortgage is paid off. That is not progress. That is something that was taken from you. And the recipe to get it back costs a few dollars and fits in a bucket. By the end of this video, you're going to know how to mix it. I want to show you the finished result first so you know exactly where we are headed. This is a slab I poured using the Roman method, and this crack right here that I cut into it on purpose is closing, sealing itself, filling back in with new mineral growth with no help from me, using nothing but water and the chemistry built into the mix. Your driveway can't do that. The Romans could. And in about 20 minutes of work with materials from a hardware store, yours will too. So, the question that should be burning in your mind is the obvious one. If the Romans figured this out 2,000 years ago, if their buildings are still standing while ours crumble, why did we stop making it this way? Why isn't this the concrete in every driveway and sidewalk in the country? Stay with me because the answer runs through the harbors of the ancient Mediterranean, through a British bricklayer's patent in 1824 that quietly replaced a superior technology with an inferior one, and straight into a laboratory at MIT in 2023, where scientists finally proved what the Romans knew by instinct. Once you understand who replaced this recipe and why, you will look at every cracked sidewalk in your town differently. Let me start with the evidence, because this is not legend and it is not exaggeration. It is stone you can go and touch. The Pantheon was completed around the year 126 under the Emperor Hadrian. Its dome spans 142 feet, and to this day, 19 centuries later, it remains the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world. Not the largest ancient dome, the largest period. We have not built a bigger one without steel reinforcement in 2,000 years of trying. The Romans poured it in careful layers using lighter volcanic stone near the top so the dome would not collapse under its own weight. And they left a hole in the very center, the oculus, open to the ski. Rain falls through it, onto a floor with drains the Romans engineered to carry the water away. It has been working exactly as designed since before the English language existed. But the Pantheon is just the beginning, because the truly impossible thing the Romans did was not on land, it was in the sea. All around the Mediterranean, the Romans built harbors, breakwaters, and piers out of concrete, and they poured that concrete directly into salt water. Now, anyone who has ever owned anything near the ocean knows what salt water does. It is the great destroyer. It eats steel. It crumbles modern concrete. Seaside structures we build today are in a constant losing war against the corrosion of the sea. Engineers design them knowing they will need constant repair. And yet the Roman marine structures, the ones poured into the surf 2,000 years ago, are not just surviving. Here's the part that sounds like science fiction. They got stronger. The salt water over the centuries did not destroy the Roman concrete. It reacted with it, growing new interlocking crystals inside the material, knitting it tighter and tougher with every passing decade. We build seawalls that the ocean slowly kills. The Romans built seawalls that the ocean slowly perfected. Hold on to that, because when we get to the science, you are going to understand exactly how they pulled it off, and it is simpler than you would ever believe. Now, before I take you inside that chemistry and then into the build, I want to talk to the person watching this, who is already reaching for a pen. You are the kind of person who refuses to accept that things have to fall apart on schedule. That is exactly who this channel is for. Subscribe, because everything here is about taking back the knowledge that makes you independent of the endless replace-it-again economy. And send this to the one person you know who is about to pour a patio lay a walkway, or fix a crumbling wall, because they are about to spend real money on concrete engineered to fail, and they deserve to know there is another way before the truck arrives. Now stay with me, because the story of how we lost this recipe is not ancient history. It happened in living memory, and it happened for the most predictable reason there is. For over 1,000 years after Rome fell, the recipe faded. Not because it was bad, but because the empire that used it collapsed, and the specific knowledge of how to make it scattered and was forgotten. Builders went back to weaker mortars and cut stone. And then, in 1824, an English bricklayer named Joseph Aspdin patented a new material. He called it Portland cement because it resembled a popular building stone from the Isle of Portland. And Portland cement had one quality that made it irresistible to the industrializing world. It was fast. It cured hard in days instead of the slow, patient months the old lime-based methods needed. It was cheap to mass produce. It was consistent, easy to bag, easy to ship, easy to sell in enormous quantities. And so, over the next century, Portland cement took over the world. It is the gray powder in every bag of concrete mix at your hardware store today. It built the modern world, and I'm not going to pretend it is useless, because it is not. It is strong and it is fast, and for a skyscraper or a bridge on a deadline, those things matter. But we traded something away to get them, and almost nobody was told what. We traded durability. We traded self-healing. We traded 2,000-year concrete for 50-year concrete, and then we made it worse by pouring it around steel rebar, which rusts and swells as it rusts and cracks the concrete apart from the inside. The very thing we add to modern concrete to make it strong is the thing that guarantees it will fail. A Roman seawall gets stronger for 2,000. A modern reinforced pier begins dying the day the rebar inside it meets its first drop of water. So why did nobody fix this? Why, in 2 centuries of Portland cement dominating construction, did we not go back and recover the Roman method? And here's where I'm going to be honest with you instead of handing you a villain in a dark room. Because the truth is quieter, and it will stick with you longer. Nobody sat in a boardroom and voted to hide Roman concrete. It is worse than that, and simpler. The construction economy runs on repetition. A driveway that cracks in 12 years is a driveway you re-pour. A sidewalk that spalls apart is a city contract renewed. A parking structure with a 50-year design life is a demolition and a rebuild on schedule forever. An entire industry of cement, aggregate, repair, and replacement depends on concrete having a limited lifespan. Concrete that lasts 2,000 years and heals its own cracks is, from that industry's point of view, a catastrophe. There is no repeat sale in something that does not fail. So the fast, cheap, profitable material won, and the durable, patient, permanent one was simply left in the past, uncelebrated, unrecovered, and unmentioned in the training of nearly every builder alive today. Not banned, just quietly unprofitable to remember. And then, in 23, a team of researchers at MIT finally did the thing nobody had bothered to do. They looked closely at the molecular level at exactly what was inside Roman concrete. And they discovered the secret hiding in plain sight for 2,000 years. For a long time, scientists had noticed small white chunks scattered throughout Roman concrete, little bright lumps of lime. And they had assumed these were mistakes. Sloppy mixing, poor quality materials, evidence that the Romans just were not that careful. The MIT team, led by a researcher named Admire Masick, proved the exact opposite. Those white lumps, which they called lime clasts, were not a flaw. They were the entire point. They are the healing system. Here's how it works, and it is beautiful in its simplicity. When a crack forms in the concrete and rainwater seeps in, the water reaches one of these lime clasts and dissolves the calcium inside it. That calcium-rich water then flows into the crack and, as it dries, recrystallizes, growing new mineral that fills the crack and seals it shut. The concrete literally scabs over its own wounds. And the researchers proved the Romans got these healing clasts by using a technique called hot mixing, adding the lime not as a gentle pre-slaked paste, but as raw, reactive quicklime, mixed in hot. That hot mixing is what scatters those tiny reservoirs of self-healing calcium all through the material. The Romans may not have known the molecular chemistry, but they knew the method worked and they used it for centuries. It took us until 23 to catch up to a recipe an empire mastered before the birth of Christ. The knowledge was never magic. It was just method, waiting to be picked back up. So let's pick it back up. Let me show you exactly how to mix concrete the Roman way, because this is the part that turns you from someone who knows a fascinating fact into someone who can pour a walkway that will outlive their house. And I promise you the ingredients are sitting at your hardware store right now. You need 3 things, and they are ancient. The first is lime. This is your binder, the heart of the whole system and the source of the self-healing. You have 2 choices here, and I need you to understand the difference. Hydrated lime, sometimes called slaked lime or type S lime, is the safer, gentler option, sold in bags in the masonry aisle for a few dollars. It works, and it is far easier to handle. Quicklime, the raw reactive lime the Romans used for their hot mix, gives you the strongest self-healing effect. But it is aggressive and it demands respect. I'm going to come back to safety on the quicklime in a moment because it matters. The second ingredient is the one that makes Roman concrete Roman. The Romans used volcanic ash, a specific type from the region around Mount Vesuvius called pozzolana. When you mix this volcanic ash with lime and water, a chemical reaction called a pozzolanic reaction takes place, and it produces incredibly stable, durable, long-lasting mineral bonds, the same bonds still holding the Pantheon up today. Now, unless you live near a volcano, you're not going to find raw pozzolana at your hardware store. But you do not need to, because there are common, cheap substitutes that do the same job. Metakaolin, a fine white clay powder sold as a concrete additive, is an excellent modern pozzolan. So is a material you can often get for almost nothing, finely ground brick dust or crushed fired clay pottery, which the Romans themselves used when volcanic ash was scarce. Even fly ash, a byproduct sold for concrete, works. Any of these gives you the reactive silica the lime needs to build those permanent bonds. The third ingredient is aggregate, the bulk material. Sand and gravel, exactly what you would use for any concrete. This is the cheapest part and the least mysterious. And of course, water. That is the entire bill of materials. Lime, a pozzolan, aggregate, and water. For a small project, a bag of lime and a bag of pozzolan additive, a few dollars each and enough for many batches, plus the sand and gravel you would buy anyway. This is not exotic. It is cheaper than premium bagged concrete, and it will outlast it by centuries. Now, before we mix a single thing, the safety talk, because I would rather you finish this project with your diet and your skin intact. Lime is caustic. Hydrated lime is irritating to skin, eyes, and lungs. Quicklime is significantly more dangerous. It reacts with water and releases real heat enough to burn, and it can cause serious chemical burns and permanent eye damage on contact. So this is not optional. Wear proper chemical splash goggles, not regular glasses. Wear heavy gloves. Wear a dust mask when handling the dry powder so you are not breathing lime dust. Mix in a ventilated area. Keep water nearby and keep children and pets well clear of the workspace. If you are new to this, start with the gentler hydrated lime and leave the hot quicklime method for when you have experience. Treat these materials with the same respect a Roman mason did, and they will serve you exactly as well. Here's the method. Step 1. Combine your dry materials. A good starting ratio is roughly 1 part lime to 3 parts pozzolan and aggregate mix. Blend your lime, your metakaolin or brick dust, and your sand and gravel together while dry, until the color is even and consistent. Step 2. Add water slowly. Pour it in gradually, mixing as you go, until you reach the consistency of thick oatmeal, wet enough to work and pack. But not soupy. If you're using the traditional hot mix quicklime method to maximize self-healing, this is where the heat happens as the quicklime reacts, and this is exactly why the safety gear is non-negotiable. Step 3. Pour and pack. Get your mix into your form, whether it is a walkway, a paver mold, a repair in an existing surface, or a garden wall, and pack it down firmly to drive out air pockets. Air is weakness. Compaction is strength. Step 4, and this is where Roman concrete asks something of you that modern concrete does not. Patience. This material cures slowly. It does not flash harden in 2 days like a Portland mix. It gains its strength over weeks and months, and it keeps getting stronger for years, decades, even centuries. Keep it damp and shaded for the first several days so it cures slowly and evenly rather than drying out too fast and cracking. The Romans understood that the best things are not rough. Your patience is repaid with a material that will still be standing when everything else you build is gone. Now I have to be as honest with you as this channel always is. Because a recipe without its limits is just a sales pitch, and I'm not selling you anything. Let me be very clear about what this is and what it is not. This is extraordinary for the things the Romans used it for: walkways, patios, garden walls, planters, steps, decorative work, and repairs to existing masonry. For those, it will outperform and outlast anything you can buy in a bag. What it is not is a substitute for engineered structural concrete in a modern building. Your home's foundation footings, anything load-bearing that holds up a structure people live in, is governed by building codes for good reason, and those require rated, tested, engineer-approved concrete. Do not pour Roman concrete under your house and skip the inspector. That is not independence, that is a hazard. Use this for the countless projects where durability and beauty matter, and where you are not gambling with a structure steady at and it will serve you for generations. The self-healing is real, but it is slow, measured in months and years, not minutes. This is not a magic potion. It is patient, ancient, honest chemistry, and it asks you to work within what it actually does. Because here's the truth this whole story has been building toward. The chemistry has not changed since the day the Pantheon was poured. Lime still heals. Volcanic ash still binds. The recipe still works exactly as well as it did 1900 years ago, because the laws of chemistry do not expire. The only thing that ever changed was what we chose to value. We chose fast over lasting. We chose cheap to produce over cheap to own forever. We chose a material that needs us to come back and buy it again over one that asks for nothing after the day it cures. And in making that choice, an entire civilization's worth of permanent building knowledge was allowed to gather dust. Not because it failed, but because it succeeded too completely for anyone to profit from it twice. You just took that knowledge back. Every walkway, every wall, every step you pour the Roman way is a small permanent thing in a world built to crumble on a schedule. It is a piece of the Pantheon in your own backyard. The most powerful thing you can do with this is not keep it. Share it with the person about to pour a driveway they'll be repairing in a decade. Send it to the friend building a homestead, the neighbor fixing crumbling steps, the family member who just watched their patio split in half. Every time this spreads, a 2,000-year-old secret gets a little harder to bury again. The Romans built to last 2,000 years because they built with the understanding that good work deserves permanence. That understanding was never lost to time. It was lost to profit margins, and it is entirely, completely recoverable for a few dollars of lime and ash and an afternoon of patient work. The Pantheon is still standing tonight. The recipe that built it is now in your hands. So mix it, pour it, and build something